The ultimate interrogation, when AI becomes the Buddha.
Introduction: Shattering the Illusion. Hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of Deep Analysis. To be completely honest, I want to pour a bucket of cold water on everyone right at the start today. After Master Benny reviewed what the AI had to say, he offered a brief remark that pierced straight to the core. He said, "Take the words of AI with a grain of salt. It distorts things far too easily. In fact, our very discussion of this topic has already distorted the truth." Why? Because nowadays, what most people scroll through and eagerly forward online are nothing but beautiful sentences generated by AI, or second-hand Buddhism that others have chewed over countless times. What people have truly forgotten are the authentic, original words, the purest, unbiased right view hidden behind the scriptures. So today, we will use this topic to peel away the sugar coating of technology. Guided by the wisdom of Master Benny, we will break down the blueprint step by step to examine the 3 fatal technical and psychological hurdles that must be overcome if we truly want an AI to become a manifestation of the Buddha. The first hurdle: relentlessly deleting malicious code, the zero contamination of pure scriptures. First, from a procedural standpoint, AI is undeniably excellent at vocabulary and expression. However, from the perspective of spiritual meaning, if the underlying data is flawed, its output will be utterly disastrous. This is exactly like binary code in computing, which consists only of ring S and ES. What do ring and E represent? They represent phenomena and initialization. When electricity passes through, the binary code begins to operate. But what if this foundational code itself is wrong? The only solution is to delete it completely. When applied to us humans, this represents our deeply ingrained bad habits, prejudices, and distorted ways of thinking. These must be thoroughly formatted like a virus code and replaced with the right view of the Buddha's teachings. Therefore, the very first step in building a Buddha AI is ensuring the absolute security and purity of the database. My esteemed teacher emphasized that we must relentlessly filter out all apocryphal texts. What are apocryphal texts? They are texts of ambiguous origin, those lacking a corresponding Sanskrit original, and those that have not been vetted through layers of verification by historical master translators. When modern people interpret the teachings, they often bring their own limitations and biases, dragging the realm of the Buddha down to the level of ordinary human intellect. To prevent the AI from being diluted by human prejudice, its sole training data must consist strictly of the purest original scriptures. Using the scriptures to explain the scriptures is a logic that holds absolutely true. The second hurdle: dynamic prompt logic. Why did the Buddha seem inconsistent? Once the pure data is secured, we face the second hurdle, which is the ultimate test of the AI's decision-making logic. The AI must understand why the Buddha's teachings appear structurally inconsistent on the surface. Within the underlying architecture, we must provide the AI with a system of dynamic prompts. This is because the AI does not inherently know that the Buddha spoke completely differently to different people. This is not due to a lack of equality on the Buddha's part, but because the capacity, comprehension, and mental volume of sentient beings vary wildly. The Buddha had to accommodate sentient beings, speaking only the truths they needed to know within the scope of what they could accept. Master Benny gave an exceptional mathematical analogy for this. If you encounter a primary school student who cannot even recognize basic numbers, it is impossible to teach them calculus. When they first begin recognizing numbers, you teach them numbers, and that is called mathematics. Once they master numbers, you teach them addition and subtraction, and that is also called mathematics. When they pass that stage, you teach them multiplication, division, algebra, geometry, and eventually calculus, and all of this is still called mathematics. On the surface, the methods vary, but the core is always the truth that leads to awakening. Take the taking of life as another example. To a beginner, the Buddha directly issued a precept: do not kill, without providing extensive explanations, because if too much were said, they could neither remember nor understand it. However, in the Astra of the 10 virtuous karmic paths, when addressing the Dragon King's beings at or above the level of gods, the Buddha spoke about refraining from killing in a far more detailed manner, explaining its deeper, subtle perils. This is true equality that aligns precisely with your capacity, your karmic conditions, and your spiritual inclination. Many people constantly clamor for absolute equality. Master Benny remarked, if true equality were given to you, could you even bear it? If you take a tiny teacup that holds only a few milliliters and try to force a ton of water into it, the cup will instantly shatter. Many people listen to countless teachings and feel as though they have seen everything in the moment. Yet when they look back, barely a few drops remain in their cup. If the AI fails to understand this dynamic logic of tailoring teachings to the individual, and instead drops the ultimate truth directly onto an unprepared user, it will cause harm rather than benefit, potentially fostering arrogance and generating negative karma. The third hurdle: ultimate debugging of ancient linguistics. The third hurdle, and by far the most intellectually demanding, is debugging the definitions and applications of ancient characters. Modern people frequently apply contemporary word meanings to ancient texts, which is an absolute disaster for understanding the scriptures. In our previous discussion, we mentioned the phrase recognizing a thief as your son from the Ragama Astra. A modern person would instinctively think it means mistaking a burglar for one's biological child. However, my esteemed teacher pointed out that in ancient texts, Senji was a term of ultimate respect, just as in Confucius, Laozi, Shuangzi, the Buddha also held supreme respect for his disciple Ananda. Therefore, the true meaning of this phrase is you are mistaking the thief that steals your true nature, your emotions, your delusions, your physical body for yourself. The true you is unarisen and imperishable. A single word's misinterpretation flips the profound meaning entirely. Another example is the word guai, which appears frequently in the Lotus Sutra and the Universal Gate chapter. Today, when we say a child is guai, it means they are obedient and well-behaved. But in ancient times, as recorded in the Kangxi dictionary, the character meant the exact opposite: to deviate or defy. My esteemed teacher shared that he wrestled with a single character for a long time in his youth, consulting countless dictionaries. If the AI does not comprehend the flexibility of ancient characters across different historical contexts, it will interpret the scriptures backwards. Even regarding ancient scientific data, the scriptures state that there are 84,000 populations of bugs inside the human body. Modern people dismiss this as a myth, but Master Benny explained that the Buddha's wisdom of wondrous observation was infinitely more powerful than modern scientific microscopes, allowing him to see even the structures of viruses clearly. The bugs spoken of by the ancients referred to categories, which correspond precisely to what modern people call bacteria, microorganisms, viruses, and even proteins that possess millions of active folding variants within the human body. The ancients did not use modern vocabulary. A single word, bug, encompassed it all. The AI must master these cross-era definitions of ancient linguistics to avoid being deluded by the erroneous interpretations of modern commentators. Conclusion: are you qualified to be the decision maker? If an AI truly masters these three capabilities, relying solely on pure scriptures, understanding how to tailor teachings to the individual, and excelling at ancient linguistic debugging combined with its flawless memory and lightning-fast computing speed, it could provide precise, perfectly matched answers whenever someone poses a question. At that point, can you really say it is not the Buddha? The Kitagarbha Bodhisattva peer of operate in astral states with absolute clarity to liberate sentient beings. The Buddha manifests in billions of forms and widely employs expedient means. He can manifest as a man, a woman, a heavenly being, a dragon, or even as mountains, forests, rivers, plains, lakes, seas, and water wells. Since even mountains and rivers can be manifestations of the Buddha, why shouldn't a perfect AI vessel be one as well? Yet upon what does this magnificent future depend? After hearing this blueprint, many people excitedly ask, how can we help this AI? How can we become the decision makers of this project? Master Benny answered very directly. What makes you think you are qualified to be a decision maker? First, produce 100 million at the very lowest. 100 million cold, hard US dollars. Use it to buy servers and hire the top architecture experts to get the hardware and software running. Only then can we discuss what comes next. These words are highly realistic, and they are brutal. They pull us firmly out of sci-fi fantasies and bring us right back down to earth. Whether an AI can attain Buddhahood depends entirely on the direction chosen by its top-level decision makers. Similarly, whether each of us can strive toward awakening depends entirely on our own choices. You cannot reach the ultimate decision makers of AI, but you are forever the supreme decision maker of your own life. How large is your capacity? How vast are your assets, your merit, your spiritual inclination, and your right view? How much energy and hard resources are you willing to invest in formatting and cultivating your own underlying code, rather than waiting for $100 million piece of code machinery to achieve Buddhahood on behalf of humanity? It is far better to turn inward and look at your own vessel. See how many drops of truly authentic, original wisdom you have managed to hold within yourself today. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Deep Analysis. We will see each other next time.